Hello, everyone. My name is Scott Wong, and today I'll be talking to you about alternative transportation. So, what exactly is alternative transportation? Well, alternative transportation is essentially any mode of transportation that does not involve driving a car. So, many common examples of this include biking, walking, or taking public transportation, like the bus or a train. So, why exactly are we talking about this topic? Well, currently, the amount of cars on the road has reached an extreme level. There are approximately 253 million cars and trucks on the road in the US alone, which is quite a substantial amount. Of this high number of cars, 78% of Americans drive to work solo, without any other passengers. And on average, Americans commute roughly 32 miles per day to work, round trip. Unfortunately, this high amount of cars on the road has had a huge toll on the environment. Vehicle emissions can affect the environment in several ways. Greenhouse gas emissions from transportation accounted for about a quarter of total U.S. greenhouse gas emissions, making it the second largest contributor of greenhouse gas emissions in the United States. Since 1990, greenhouse gas emissions from transportation have increased about 17%, and the number of vehicle miles traveled by passenger cars has increased by 37%. The increase in travel miles is attributed to many factors, including population growth and economic growth. Many of these air pollutants and particulate matter that are emitted from cars are deposited on soil and surface waters. These deposits are then entered into the food chain, which can affect the reproductive, respiratory, and neurological systems of animals. In addition, nitrogen oxides and sulfur oxides are major contributors to acid rain, which changes the pH of waterways and soils that can harm organisms that rely on these resources. One of the biggest issues related to car emissions is the smog that depletes the ozone layer. Ozone layer protects all natural life on Earth from harmful ultraviolet rays produced by the sun. When the ozone layer is depleted, more ultraviolet rays are allowed to reach humans, increasing the number of cases of skin cancer and cataracts. Air pollution by itself causes several respiratory and cardiovascular problems for humans. More than half of Americans live in areas that fail to meet federal air quality standards many days throughout the year. Traffic actually creates stress on humans. Overexposure to stress hormones can disrupt many of the natural processes in your body and puts you at an increased risk for numerous health problems. Driving a car is extremely expensive for the owner. Approximately 18% of an individual's budget goes towards car maintenance, repairs, and gas. In addition, a car engine is extremely inefficient, with only 20% of potential energy being converted to useful power. At the same time, much of a person's life is spent just driving. An average American spends 40 hours each year stuck in traffic. Think about how much other things you could be doing in that time. I would now like to focus on the dangers of driving. Nearly 6 million car accidents occur in the US each year, and 90 people die in car accidents every day, with over 37,000 people killed in car crashes each year worldwide. Additionally, 2.35 million people are injured or disabled in car-related accidents. So based on the information that I've shared, we can see that cars have a very negative impact on our planet, our health, and our wallets. At the same time, driving isn't the safest form of transportation. So you might be wondering, what exactly can we do to improve this situation? As I mentioned earlier, there are many forms of alternative transportation that you can take, like public transportation, carpooling, biking, walking, rollerblading, skateboarding, or nowadays, hoverboards have become very popular. Personally, for the majority of my life, I have been riding bicycles to get from point A to point B, such as going from my house to the school, to soccer practice, to the grocery store. I basically ride anywhere that's within a 5-mile radius of my house, just because it's close enough where I don't need a car. But in the cases that are a little further, I will take a car just because it saves time. Turns out there are many benefits of alternative transportation. By carpooling, a person can save as much as $600 per month, which adds up over the course of a year. In addition, 1,600 pounds of greenhouse gases can be kept out of the air each year if everyone were to bike. From studies, it shows that just 1% of the driving population switching to bikes would translate to 2 to 4% reduction in mobile emissions. A move to any of these transportations could ultimately help clear up the planet's air, land, and water supplies. If everyone in the world who worked less than 5 miles from home cycled instead of driving to work once a week, it would reduce greenhouse gases by nearly 5 million tons a year. That's the equivalent to about 1 million people getting rid of their cars. Overall, a cyclist who commutes to work has about 1/10 the ecological footprint of a commuting driver. As I mentioned earlier, carpooling is probably one of the easiest and best ways of alternative transportation. And luckily for us, carpooling has become easier than ever before. Today, in the modern age of smartphones, there are many mobile apps for carpooling that allows people to connect with other drivers heading in the same direction that they are. With this app called Scoop, you can schedule a carpool to commute just one leg at a time with no round trip commitments. And ultimately, carpooling will save you money and reduce your environmental footprint. And who knows, maybe you'll make a friend or two along the way. I personally have a coworker who uses this app Scoop, and every day he just goes on the app and coordinates with another driver who's going from San Jose to Milpitas to hitch a ride with. And I think he spends about only $2 to catch a ride with. Now I'd like to spend some time talking about the future of alternative transportation. Currently in the state of California, the California High-Speed Rail is being developed, which is basically a railway system that connects the San Francisco Bay Area to Anaheim. And this railway has the potential to hit speeds of 220 miles per hour. This would significantly reduce the time that it would take you to drive there from about 5 hours to 2 hours and 30 minutes. The other form of transportation that I'd like to talk about is Hyperloop, which is a concept that was created by Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla Motors. Musk created this concept of Hyperloop, which consists of a passenger capsule that travels through a continuous vacuum tube. This capsule is suspended by air, which basically eliminates all form of rolling resistance and allows for theoretical speeds in close to around 750 miles per hour. And this concept is designed to connect the San Francisco Bay Area to Los Angeles with an expected journey time of only 35 minutes. The last form of transportation I want to talk about is what they call the straddling bus, which is basically this platform type thing which sits on stilts above traffic using small tracks positioned that are between the lanes of traffic. And passengers basically get on and off at these elevated bus stops. These trains are capable of holding many people, and there's basically no disruption to traffic and no need to build completely independent track systems to implement this idea. So these are just some of the few very cool ideas that are out there right now. But as time goes on, I'm sure more and more forms of alternative transportation will be thought of. So in conclusion, our choices for commuting ultimately have a major impact on the world. While ideally we would all bike or walk to work, many of us do not have that option, as getting from point A to point B is simply too far and requires a car. However, I do hope that from this presentation you feel more informed about alternative transportation and feel inspired to reduce your carbon footprint next time you commute to work. Thanks for listening, everyone.